Every land has stories, but some stories shape a continent. Welcome to Motherland Chronicles. Episode 1. Kwame Nkrumah. The Road to Independence. Long before Ghana became a free nation, in a small coastal town called Nkrofo, there lived a quiet but determined boy named Kwame. Kwame was not the tallest boy in the village, and he was not the loudest either. But inside his heart lived something powerful, a dream bigger than the ocean that stretched beyond the shore. Every morning, he would wake up before the sun, listening to the gentle waves crash against the coast. He would sit outside his home with a small book resting on his knees, reading carefully while the sky turned from dark blue to bright orange. Books were Kwame's treasure. While other children ran across the sand chasing crabs, Kwame chased ideas. He wanted to understand the world. He wanted to know why some countries ruled over others. He wanted to know why his people were not allowed to lead themselves. One afternoon, as he sat under a tall palm tree reading, a group of older boys laughed. "Kwame the professor," they teased. Kwame simply smiled. He did not argue. He did not fight. He kept reading. Because deep inside, he knew something they did not. He believed that knowledge was power. At night, his mother, Nyaneba, would sit beside him. "My son," she would say gently, "education is your weapon. Use it wisely." Kwame listened carefully to every word she spoke. As he grew older, he began to ask questions, brave questions. Why can't we govern ourselves? Why are decisions about our land made far away? Some adults whispered that he should stay quiet. One day, he stood in front of his classmates at school. His heart beat fast, but he did not step back.
"I have something important to share."
"We are capable," he said firmly. "We are intelligent. One day, Ghana will be free." The classroom fell silent. Some students stared. Some nodded slowly. And in that moment, a leader was beginning to rise. Kwame did not yet know how difficult the road ahead would be. He did not know about prison cells or protests or powerful speeches. But he knew one thing for certain: freedom was worth fighting for. And the boy who once sat quietly under a palm tree with a book would one day stand before a nation and declare something the world would never forget. Ghana is free forever. When Kwame grew into a young man, the dreams that once lived quietly inside him began to stretch far beyond the shores of Nkrofo. He had read every book he could find. He had asked every question he dared to ask. But he knew something important. If he truly wanted to help his people, he would have to travel beyond the horizon. Leaving home was not easy. The day he prepared to depart, the air felt heavy. His mother stood tall, her hands clasped together, hiding the sadness in her eye. "Remember who you are," she told him. "And remember who you belong to." He carried more than a suitcase that day. He carried the hopes of a land that was not yet free. He traveled across the ocean to America, where he studied at Lincoln University. Why the buildings were tall. The winters were cold. The streets were busy and loud in a way he had never experienced before. But Kwame did not shrink. He studied philosophy, theology, and politics. He spent long nights reading under dim lights while snow fell outside his window. He worked small jobs to support himself. Sometimes he felt lonely. Times he missed the warm breeze of Ghana. Yet each challenge made him strong. In America, he met other African and Caribbean students who spoke about freedom, justice, and equality. They debated passionately about independence movements happening across the world. Kwame listened carefully. Then he spoke. His voice, once quiet beneath palm trees, was now clear and confident. He began to understand something powerful: Ghana's struggle was not just Ghana's struggle. After years of study, Kwame traveled again, this time to London. London was different. Grey skies. Busy streets. Political discussions happening in cafes and meeting halls. There, he joined other African leaders and thinkers who believed that colonial rule could not last forever. They organized meetings. They wrote letters. They planned movements. Kwame worked tirelessly. Why? He helped organize the Pan-African Congress, where leaders from across Africa gathered to speak boldly about freedom and self-rule. The room was filled with energy, determination, and hope. For the first time, Kwame saw clearly what the future could look like. Not just independence for Ghana, but unity for Africa. It was time to go home. Because knowledge was powerful. But action was unstoppable. And Kwame Nkrumah was ready to turn his learning into liberation. When Kwame returned home to Ghana, he did not return as the quiet village boy who once read beneath palm trees. He returned with fire in his heart. The Gold Coast, as the country was then called, was still under British rule. Decisions about the land were made far away. Many people worked hard, yet had little power over their own future. Kwame knew it was time to act. He began traveling from town to town, speaking to workers, farmers, teachers, and market women. He did not speak in complicated words. He spoke clearly, boldly, and with passion. We deserve to govern ourselves, he would say. This is our land. Our future must be in our hands. Crowds began to grow. Some people were nervous. Challenging colonial rule was dangerous. But Kwame believed courage was contagious. Soon, he helped form a political party called the Convention People's Party. Its message was simple and powerful. Self-government now. Not later. Not someday. Now. The words spread quickly across the country. Young people repeated them. Workers chanted them. Newspapers printed them. But the British authorities were not pleased. They warned him to stop. He refused. They told him to quiet his supporters. He stood even taller. Finally, the colonial government arrested him. Kwame was sent to prison. The cell was small and cold. The walls were thick. The doors were heavy. For many people, prison would have meant fear and silence. But not for Kwame. Inside that prison cell, he did not lose hope. He wrote letters. He thought carefully about strategy. He believed something deeply. If the people stayed united, independence would come. Outside the prison walls, something incredible happened. The people did not give up. They organized rallies. They voted in elections. They made it clear that they wanted Kwame to lead them. And when elections were held, the Convention People's Party won. Even though he was still behind bars. The British government could no longer ignore the voice of the people. Kwame Nkrumah was released from prison to lead the government. The journey was not easy. There were negotiations. There were disagreements. There were tense meetings filled with uncertainty. But step by step, the dream moved closer to reality. Then came the night that would change everything. On March 6, 1957, crowds gathered in Accra. The air was electric. Drums beat loudly. People stood shoulder to shoulder, waiting. As the clock struck midnight, Kwame stood before the nation. The old colonial flag was lowered. A new red, gold, and green flag with a black star rose into the sky. And Kwame declared words that would echo through history. Ghana is free forever. Cheers erupted. People danced. Some cried. Some simply stood in awe. The boy who once read quietly by the sea had helped free a nation. But Kwame believed independence was only the beginning. Freedom was not just about removing chains. It was about building schools, creating opportunities, uniting Africa. And the fight for independence had shown one powerful truth. When people believe in themselves, even empires must listen.